Okay, so viewers, as we speak right now, I brought you up to speed with the fact that the human misery that's been underway for the last 2 years on both sides. There are families of the victims who are crying out for justice, hostages who haven't seen daylight for over 2 years, and citizens, civilians on Gaza who've been at the receiving end of relentless bombarding from Israel's side, because they've been very clear that till the time hostages are released, they will not stop, which is why these talks in Cairo are going to be extremely critical. Will that lead to peace? Forget even lasting peace. Forget how long will that last? Can there even be a peace deal right now that would end the misery for some time is the larger question. Let's get in our big voices. Joining me on the broadcast, Mohammed Khatibi, as well as Mr. Wagmar, who's joining me from London. In fact, Mr. Khatibi, let me ask you this. How hopeful are you that the talks that are currently on in Cairo will lead through some sort of a breakthrough?
So this is a very good step forward in 2 years, but I don't think that this will be easy because there are so many issues with the ideas that are being projected in this. So the important issues, as you mentioned in your introduction, the issue of captives and the issue of, I think you got, I lost. The issue of captives and the issue of Israeli withdrawal are important factors here. Hamas will not relinquish its weapons, and also another point that needs
those
to
are
be
all deal breakers then
here,
essentially, Mr. Khatibi, those are all deal breakers. That's what it ends up becoming, right? Those are all deal breakers. Let's get in Mr. Wagmar as well for more expectations from the Cairo talks. How hopeful are you that at least some sort of a peace deal could be thrashed out?
It could be everything or nothing is how it stands just now. In the last 24 hours since talks commenced in Egypt, Hamas has thrown another spanner in the works because over the weekend, Mr. Netanyahu and Israel agreed to the release of 250 hardcore Palestinian militants who are doing life sentences for murdering Israelis. Now Hamas wants 295, which was not part of the original framework package. So that has been thrown up as point number one, Gauri. Point number two, if I may iterate, it's not just a question of hostages and people murdered, but on the second anniversary, we ought to iterate it was the deliberate murdering of Jews and Jews en masse not seen since the Holocaust and 1945. That needs to be foregrounded too. The third point is the so-called deal breaker about would Israel not renege? Well, once the Board of Peace comes into effect, the GITA, Gaza International Transitional Authority as we know it, Israel will make progressive withdrawals from 55 to 40 to 15% of the Gaza Strip territory as the international peacekeeping force enters and the strip is secured, along with the Palestinian police who are expected to do their bit too. But that will happen once the smuggling and terror networks of those tunnels can be cleansed out. Please remember
exactly,
that
and those tunnels stay. Those tunnels haven't been demolished, they stay.
Precisely, and Gauri, all your viewers need to know this. The tunnels in question are more extensive than the entire London Underground network. The entire London Underground network is smaller compared to the entire terrorist tunnel network of the Gaza Strip. That is a patent fact. And also, Israel would want to see that those tunnels are not being used because guerrilla operations is what is currently going on. This has become a war of attrition.
Then let me ask you this. Let me ask you this, Mr. Wagmar. Let me ask you this, that, what you are mentioning are very important aspects, which is that, even Hamas says, I'm not going to disarm. I may let go of rockets, but I'm going to keep the AK-47s and the Kalashnikovs and so on and so forth for self-protection. Add to it the fact that the tunnel network stays. How are we then looking at any of these being resolved in Cairo right now?
And the other problem is also of the release of actual cadavers, rotten cadavers of bodies 2 years on, plus the alleged 20 who are alive. And that boggles the mind, Gauri, for the simple reason, as I ask this as a historian, how are they going to even undertake a mass stage release of that? Because most of Hamas's top brass has been exterminated, as you know. So there is nobody even on ground to do it. And then they will throw up that excuse that we cannot logistically undertake this. And once again, they would want a deadline extension. And they know this only too well for two other sinister reasons. Number one, Mr. Trump's impulsiveness, because he's not a man interested in details or actually seeing through something completely executed. He tends to move on to the next topic given his attention time span.
Yeah.
And number two are the global hard left progressive politics and the politics of disaffection by metropolitan elites. And and Hamas is on record stating this, Gauri, that we are galvanized by the protests that we see across Western campuses and streets because it makes us perversely believe that we are correct in the court of public opinion and we ought not flinch and give
all your points are well taken. All your points are well taken, but it also just puts a huge question mark about any of the efforts being made right now leading to any breakthrough. I'm out of time, but Mohammad Khatibi, in the spirit of fairness, you're joining us from Tehran. Quick word, what do you expect from today in the event of any progress whatsoever, or do you agree with Mr. Wagmar saying it's all or nothing on the table?
I don't think that will happen, because if Hamas agrees to relinquish its weapons, some smaller groups like Islamic Jihad will not do so, because we have seen this before with Fatah, and Hamas came up with arming, and this will continue. So the issue here is more about Israel's willingness to end these attacks on Gaza Strip.
Okay, I'm going to leave it there. It's also about Hamas's willingness to ensure that those hostages come out. 20 of them are alive, 28 dead bodies. And as Mr. Wagmar said, how are those cadavers going to be, handed over to the families, and what conditions would they be? Those are separate questions as far as logistics and execution is concerned, which will come to only and only if there is some breakthrough in these talks. I'm going to leave it there. Thanks so much, gentlemen, for joining me on India Global.